useful information to clarify some things that I hear a lot of questions about, misinformation that might be out there. I'm going to try to clarify some of it, present some new information, and then also present some service information that might be useful to you in the future. My presentation will be on my website on Tuesday, so you don't have to worry about taking notes or missing any information because you'll be able to get it online. So these are the topics I'm going to go over: configuration variations of the transmission, torque capacity, what's available in terms of shifters, interchangeability of the transmissions. I get surprising questions about that. And there's controversy or misinformation over blue tag and black tag, and I'll clear that up for in a definitive way. Information about the speedometer sensor. They've been failing lately, at least I've been hearing about a lot of them, and how to work with that. Speedometer correction if you do changes to your gearing and the rear axle. And information on lubricants are always, topics of, this seems the endless discussion. And then finally the CAGs feature that we all love to hate. Okay, this is the configuration list. This is a list from ZF's parts manual. And as you can see, there's 6 part numbers for each model year. So you have to know the variation of the transmission. If you're gonna shop for one or replace it, you have to make sure you get the same one if you want it to match your car. Out over here are the torque ratings. Okay, so one big dividing line here are the early transmissions, for both engines, have a higher torque capacity than the late ones. And this is maybe sort of interesting insofar as some of the early transmissions were very loud in neutral. Some people complained about the 90s, at least the 90s ZR-1s that I'm real familiar with having too much, kind of a, rattling noise, just gear noise of, you could hear the transmission gears turning, and you know it's the transmission because as soon as you put it in the clutch, it goes away. So you can make a real clear distinction between other engine noises in the transmission. So people complained about that, and GM actually responded. And in '93, it's actually 93 and a half. And of course, up here there was no '89 ZR-1 in production at least. But it's actually a 93 and a half change when they went to the 540 Newton meter transmission. This made it quite a bit quieter in neutral, more or less solved the problem. And I'll mention later that, again, that it doesn't have, this is not a durability issue, so there's no reason to worry about, if you have one of these transmissions, or there's no reason to try to upgrade for more torque capacity. And there's also, again, model year specific transmission part numbers here for the LT1 and L98 and LT4 engines. And as far as the torque goes, just running right into that, those are the 2 torque capacities, and I translated them into foot-pounds. And this is what I would say about it. I have never seen anybody have a problem with a failure or breaking this transmission with just raw torque. Okay, I'm just having we've had engines, all the way up to 565 foot-pounds of torque, and for just the application of torque to the engine, to the transmission, it holds up just fine. The only time I think you could just say in general that the transmission breaks is if you don't complete a shift correctly. And if you miss a shift, you're gonna, you know, of course, you're going to break a synchro, or you certainly are highly likely to break a synchro, and or burn one. So torque capacity is really not an issue with the transmission. I mean, it seems like such a low number compared to what the kinds of how much it's being overloaded. You know, you're putting in 565 through a transmission that's 400. Well, believe it or not, I've never seen a failure, and I've never heard of a failure, so it's nothing to worry about. This transmission must be way, you know, over-designed, because the evidence is quite clear as far down the road, because people aren't breaking them. Here's one thing that you need to know about the transmission. You might have heard about this. Some of the transmissions have a problem if you run them at high speed for a long time. Okay, my encounter with this was I had prepared a car for a customer, believe it or not, who was moving to France, and he wanted the car checked out before going to France. And we went over it, and the first thing he did when he got a hold of the car in France is he started driving it at 140 miles an hour. I don't know where you can do that around there, but he did it within hours after he got the car. And it was a 94, and the transmission locked up on him. Okay. Bill Boudreau is the, you know, he's the technical expert on the internals of this transmission. Okay, and that's where you find him at zfdoc.com. And Bill has, you know, analyzed this problem, and he's found the root cause, and it has to do with oil passageways that lead to the reverse gear. Okay, on some cases they're not as deep or as large as they should be, and the reverse gear can starve for oil. He says that this affects all models of the transmission. At first, I had heard early on that only late model transmissions like 94s and 95s are affected by this, but Bill says that any transmission can be affected, and it's just a sort of a random thing where they didn't provide enough lubrication. He would know more of the details about it. He has a solution, of course, because if he's rebuilding a transmission, he always, you know, upgrades it by improving these lubrication passageways in the process. So he told me that if when it starts to go, you do get some warning, but you have to pay attention to it right away. It'll start to make a screaming sound, a high-pitched squeal, and if you would drop, you know, if you get off the throttle as soon as you hear that, he says you'll be okay. But if you're driving along trying to think about what that sound is, you probably waited too long. You only have a few seconds to react before the transmission will start to bind up inside, and it actually could lock up. Okay, so and just let me, before I leave this, say that I've heard of this maybe happening about 8 times. Okay, this is a really low probability problem, and again, it only happens when you're driving basically in some sort of a situation where you're always driving over, you know, 120 miles an hour, which might be like open road racing or driving in some western states where I know you can get away with that. About shifters, there's all kinds of shifter options. The original shifter has 16-degree throws. An upgrade is to go to the Bill Boudreau shifter. This is the one I recommend. I like it for 2 reasons. He keeps the reverse lockout feature in the shifter. Some other ones, you know, the Hearst that I'm going to go to doesn't have that. He keeps the reverse lockout feature, and he also retains, there's a rubber bushing in the shaft of the transmission that isolates transmission noise from coming up into the car. And he keeps that so that it'll have the same sound. More about that later. So you get 25% shorter throws, and it won't bring extra noise into the cabin. The Hearst shifter feels the same. Well, no, it's not. Let me go back. It's actually not. correct. The Hurst shifter has 25% shorter throws, just like, just the same kind of ratio change that Bill makes. But it has a solid shaft, okay? And what will happen sometimes, I've had a couple people go to this shifter, and what they don't like is you start hearing more whine coming out of the transmission, and what it's doing is it's coming right up the shaft, because the Hurst just replaces the whole shaft with a solid shaft. And you lose that rubber isolator in there. On the other hand, the Hurst shifter has a slightly notchier feel to it, if that's what you like, because that rubber bushing's not in there. On your sock shifter right now, you can go in the car and push on it, and you'll be able to tell that it wants to go. You can push it forward about a 1/4 inch pretty easy. That's the rubber bushing flexing. The Hurst shifter will have a tighter click into gear because of that solid shaft. Again, this is all just personal preference. It depends on what you like. Then there was another shifter that came out. You rarely see them nowadays, the B&M shifter. It had really short throws. I personally, don't like it at all. It's so hard to shift. I suppose if I had arms twice as big as I do, I wouldn't mind. But certainly, the short throws are nice, but there's so much more effort. It's actually, I think, slows you down if you're trying to shift really fast. And then finally, there's the White Racing Product shifter. I have to mention this because it's part of the history. Excuse me. Kurt White designed this a long, long time ago. And what's interesting about it is it's not really a shifter. He changes it. There are 2 fulcrum brackets that you install that will change the pivot point, and gives you like about 25% shorter throws. The one feature about it that I don't like is that because he lowers the whole shifter by about 1 inch, the bottom of the shifter now drags on the rubber boot, the dust and moisture boot that's on the bottom of the shifter, and you pick up like this rubbery friction because it's pressing on it real hard all the time. You can put grease on it, but then after a year or so, the grease wears away, and you get this kind of rubbery feel to the shifts. So. It's not one that I would recommend, but nonetheless, it's out there. Kurt's been supplying them for a long time. I have no idea how many he still sells. I think most people are buying the Hurst. I should mention about the Hurst that the Hurst shifter was discontinued by Hurst years ago, but some company out in California bought the rights to it, and you can find them on the internet. They make a perfect copy of it. They apparently have all the design specifications for it. So those are still available, and of course you just call up Bill and he can do yours. Interchange. I get a lot of people calling me. Maybe it's not that interesting to this crowd, but a lot of people that are doing engine swaps call me that they're shopping for a transmission because they're putting an LT5 into a street rod or some other non-Corvette application, and they've heard about different shaft lengths of the transmission, and sure enough, the ZR-1 models have a shaft that's about a little over 1 inch longer than the L98 LT1 LT4 models. So if you're shopping for a transmission, this is a really critical thing to know about because the transmission simply won't fit, and you really don't want to do a conversion because the input shaft is longer, and the input shaft is the first part you put in the transmission when you're assembling. You have to disassemble the entire complicated 6-speed transmission. I really don't think it's worth it. The only way it might pay off is if you had Bill Boudreau do it, because he does it so much that he's very efficient at it. Black and blue tags. There was confusion until recently, as far as I can tell, Some people thought that the blue tag transmissions were the 540 Newton meter transmissions. Okay, and I talked to Bill Boudreau about this, and there's actually no correlation between torque capacity and the color of the tag. The color of the tag simply shows where it was made. Okay, the blue tag ones were the manufacturing started around 93, not around for the 93 model year, and those were built in the U.S. So that's all that indicates, black tag and blue tag. So to a large extent, it's a meaningless designation or a meaningless thing to shop for, because there's no difference in quality between the transmissions, and so there's really nothing to be concerned about. And then speedometer sensors for the ZR1s, and I have to apologize. I just knocked that up on the Grand Sports, but on the 90 ZR1s, the sensors have become somewhat of a higher failure rate. It seems to me like maybe 1% of them might be failing. I'm getting quite a few calls. And the problem with that sensor is it's a unique sensor for that 1 year. And GM discontinued it a long time ago, and none of the aftermarket companies have come in to make that sensor because it was a 2-year Corvette sensor. Okay, and of course they didn't make that many 89s either. So the way to go with that is to use the 91 and up sensor. Okay, it bolts right in. It's a drop-in replacement part, except you have to change the electrical connector on the sensor, because that was the variation between the two sensors, and that's the part number for the electrical connector. So it's easy to use that one if you want to go and kind of bite the bullet and have to cut the original connector off your car and put it in. Lubricants. The original lubricant was a Texaco 530 mineral oil, and that was available, I think, until maybe around about 2002, roughly. And it was a special blend with certain additives deleted. If you have certain detergent additives and extreme pressure additives in the oil, they'll attack parts like they're dirt, try to and try to dissolve them. So you can't just put any lubricant in the transmission. It has to be a lubricant that's friendly to these phosphor bronze coated synchronizers. There's the GM the ZF recommendation for a lubricant. This is in the ZF parts manual. They published this around 1995, and they recommended for an upgrade lubricant to go to Castrol RS 1060. And the big advantage there is it's synthetic. And when this first came out, I was recommending it to everybody that goes racing, because you have the temperature, the higher temperature protection that you get from the synthetic. Since then, of course, the years go by, and that lubricant's been discontinued. It was replaced by what they call Formula RS, which was also discontinued, and today they call it, the TWS is what they used, I'm sorry. And then today, if you go to the BMW dealer, which is the only place I believe this is available, they call it Edge Sport. And it's you can also say it's the oil for the M5 engine and other engines too that I can't name right now. That is the recommendation from ZF, and I believe it's kind of an old recommendation, because in today's world we have manual transmission products that have the original viscosity that are synthetic. So for the street, this is the way to go. There's no point in putting in a higher viscosity lubricant if you don't need to. I believe that they only did the 1060 because that was the only synthetic lubricant that that they could recommend. So AMSOIL and Redline make products that are just engineered for the transmission. So that's a great primary choice. And then the other situation is if you install a single mass flywheel and then you start running into a whole lot of transmission gear rattle, you can go to Redline Shockproof Heavy, and that'll quiet down the transmission by about 50%. So it'll help. It will not make the problem go away, but it does help. And that's the capacity. You need to buy 3 containers if you're going to change the lubricant. And again, a reminder, it's be a big mistake to put in 75 W90 gear loop, because it has an EP additive in there that'll attack the metal on the synchronizers. So that would be a mistake in the long term, I believe. And for speedometer correction, on ZR1s, it's not possible to correct the speedometer with the engine control system. Okay, the signal goes through there, but they don't process it at all. So there's nothing that can be done with the program. The answer, and I'm not sure what happens with L98 and LT1. Again, I gotta apologize to the Grand Sport guys. I think it's the same situation. And the solution then is to use just speedometer correction gears to solve to resolve the issue. It's easy to put in a set of gears because you don't have to take the extension housing off the transmission. The gear is smaller than the output shaft seal, so you can just unclip it. It doesn't press on. Unclips, so it's easy just to push the clip out, and you slide it out the back of the transmission, and it's easy to make a correction. Also, another possibility, I consider this an alternative if you want to correct something besides 390 and 410, because there aren't correction gears that I'm aware of for any of the other ratios anymore. There's a electronic box for correcting the speedometer, and this one's a really good one because it's digital. It's the early ones that they made years ago were analog, and you had to adjust them, and then they drifted over with time and temperature. This is a rock solid unit. I'll advise you that it's a good idea to put this corrector inside the car and not under the hood, protect it from the weather, because it doesn't come in a weatherproof box.
Hey, Marc.
Yeah.
On the grass works, just reprogram the PCM. That's the easiest way.
So on the Grand Sports you can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
You can even do it with those little Haibeck thing, which is not that big.
Yeah.
That's not the best thing those are good for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, very good. Very good. I didn't know that. Thank you. And finally, for our friend CAGS. GM says that it's for fuel economy. I guess they had to do it to get through to make the car legal. We hate it. You can drive around it on a stock calibration by just driving 19 miles an hour, and then it'll automatically skip the CAGS. Okay. It's super easy to disable by just going under the car, and there's an electrical connector on the left side of the transmission right in the middle. You just unplug it. You should probably seal it up so dirt won't go inside there, and that'll turn it off. And then, of course, you can turn it off in the program too if you want to have a more refined approach and still have the connector hooked up. So that's it. Like I said, you can go to my website on Tuesday, and if you want to get things like the ZF transmission chart or anything like that. All that'll be there forever, so. Let me see where we're at with time.